Okay, cool. So let's start the Android Studio. So the agenda of today is basically an introduction to the Android development, Android Studio development, and we will create a very simple small app, which will be Dice Roller app. Let me show you an image of it, how it will look. So this is the kind of app we are going to build now. I will provide you with all the images, and it's simply you will press on the roll button and the dice will roll and give you some number between 1 to 6. So that's the agenda for today. And as I said, please let me know if you are stuck anywhere, if you have any questions, and I will be happy to answer. So I assume you all have opened your Android Studio. Okay, so what we will do is click on new project. Select empty activity here. So I assume you have already done this for your Hello World application. So we will simply write Dice Roller app. Now you can obviously change the save location, and the package name is basically a unique name for your app, and since it has to be unique on your mobile phone, on the Play Store, and nearly everywhere, therefore it is a common practice to put it in reverse order of your domain name, because domain name is also unique. So that's why it's there com.example.rsl. Obviously we can go ahead with this, and for language we will choose Kotlin, and minimum SDK you can change, but I guess it will be fine because 94% of devices will support this, and I assume all your devices will support this. So we will continue by clicking on finish. Okay.
Like just could we use Android 4.1 like just for
Sure.
the sake of completeness?
Yeah, sure. We can definitely use any Android version as long as we are not using any specific things which will be only supported on higher versions.
And also, like, we have created a Hello World app, so can we rename that to Dice Roller?
You can rename that also, and you can create a new project. It's not any problem, and you can also continue with Hello World name only. It's just a name, it does not matter at this stage. So it will take some time for Gradle project sync, so I'll just wait for that. So if you want, you can also create a new app, because it will take some time for you also. So anyone of you has started reading about what is this activity, what XML file? It's not required, I'm just asking, just curious.
Could you say that once more? I didn't quite.
Anyone of you has started reading something about Android Studio, what is activity, what are XML files?
I mean, I didn't read too much into it, but from what I gather, main activity, that's just stuff boilerplate stuff, right? You just copy paste most of that into all the things.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a text. Okay, yeah. There's a text file that I just edited. That's all that's the extent to my knowledge on this.
Yeah, no issue. That's good. So you will probably be seeing your activity main.xml like this. I mean, either it will be code only or design only, or it will be split, and you can obviously change between these. And as it's visible, you can only see Hello World here. And let's also run this on device.
Hello.
Yeah.
How did you open this .xml and .kt files?
Okay, let me close this.
+1. I also wasn't able to open this. मेरा अभी भी loading दिखा रहा है.
Okay, like just message me once everything loads up so that I can, like, you can do along with me.
Android Studio is a little slow, so it takes a little time for the left side bar to load up completely. There's on the down below, you'll see like stuff loading. Just wait until that finishes and everything should be there by then, I think. I don't know.
Alright.
Games which were saying running Android Studio on 8 GB RAM. Now I understand.
Yeah, that's why I use physical device and not emulator, because like emulator takes a lot more RAM. Even running Android Studio is a lot, and emulator on top of that is like just blast.
Wait, Vivek, you didn't get any sausages ready yet.
What?
You didn't get any sausages ready to cook.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Even I didn't understand. थोड़ा धीरे बोलना.
He's saying that your machine can cook food when it's running Android Studio.
हाँ, अंडा लाता हूँ, एक बार टेस्ट कर लेते हैं, चल.
I mean, for those of you who like for loading has finished, just run the app on your device because it will also take some time. And once your app is running on the device, should look like something like this. So just hello world. Maybe instead of dice roller, this is the name of the app. So if you are continuing with hello world only, hello world will be written and you don't need to worry about that. Is it still loading?
Sadly, yes. I'm so sorry.
No issue. No issue.
For me, it's done. So how to run in that mobile?
Okay, for me there was a little green arrow here, and I have selected my device here, which is Xiaomi something. You will see Gradle build something written in the bottom right. So it takes a minute or two to run your app.
What are you running this on?
On my physical device.
No, like I was going to say this is Linux, right? Okay,
Linux.
fine. Yeah, I just noticed
Linux.
that down bar.
Yeah.
Apparently it's even slower on Windows. So nice.
Actually, I have good amount of RAM, so maybe that's why.
कितना 16?
32.
Oh भाई.
It's a good investment. I mean, after a year or two, you will realize that.
Is it a laptop or a PC?
It's a laptop. Like I started with 8 GB. After a year, I upgraded to 16, and after another year, I upgraded to 32.
Okay.
Which laptop is it, yaar? My ThinkPad only supports up to 16.
It's a gaming laptop, definitely, right?
No, not exactly gaming. Like it has a 2 GB graphic card, but I will not call it gaming laptop.
Okay.
I mean, it does not even have SSD, so it's not very fast.
I bought one gaming this BBD.
Oh, that's great.
It has 16 GB RAM, so it's fine.
I mean, 16 GB most probably works. Since I don't have SSD, I kinda keep everything opened so that I don't have to load everything.
I think you should continue, like, I don't know man, like मेरा तो चलता रहेगा down ये आप जो भी चल रहा है तो चालू कर I guess.
Okay, sure. So everyone else done with this?
Yeah, you can continue. It will take time.
Okay, no issue. Okay, so in the left bar you will see Android and then project. So these are the two basically views of your project. So preferably we will, like most of the time we will see only Android view since it's better and it's easier. And here you can see like three main folder: manifest, Java and res. we will never touch Java generated, and we will also never touch Rest generated, because obviously, as the name suggests, these folders are automatically generated and we don't have to even touch them. So Rest basically stands for resources like maybe images, layouts, your constant strings, etc. And in the Java folder, so like don't get confused by the name of Java. It's just because of a long history, because Android started with Java, but we will be writing Kotlin. And here we can see 3 folders again: test, Android chat. We will again don't touch any of these. So let's go com.example.diceruler, and here it is main activity. So that's how we will open our main activity file. And now coming to the XML file. So XML file generally stores the layout of your app. So where will be this text displayed, where will be button, where will be the dice image. So as I said, layout is a resource, so it will be there in resource. So layout and activity main.xml. So these are basically 2 files which we will be playing with. And like, everyone able to see these files, or it's still loading? I mean, it will be better if you can continue.
Okay, my app finally came up, so
Okay, cool.
yeah, I am able to see. This kind of reminds me of like if you remember, there's these games like like what Temple Run and whatever. So
Yeah.
you ever try to use Lucky Patcher on them? So Lucky
Okay.
Patcher like automatically opens these files and then like places scripts into them, and so it was like very educational for me. It like showed me this kind of
Yeah.
structure inside Lucky Patcher. And I remember एक बार Minecraft में मैं mod install करने की कोशिश कर रहा था फोन पे.
On phone, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, like most of the things I've learned is because of like I was trying to hack some games or things like that. Okay. So
Right?
yeah.
Good. This might be illegal if someone heard it.
हाँ भाई recording से काट देना.
Generated Java file,
Yes.
but otherwise all of them are there.
Sorry.
I don't see the generated REST file and the generated Java file. Otherwise,
Yeah, it's fine. Just ignore the generated files if it's there. So you have like run the app on your device or not? Not yet, right?
Run दबाना पड़ेगा.
No,
Okay,
like no, like you don't need to run the app now. I was just curious why the generated folders are not there on yours. Okay, so as you can see, there are a lot of files, and I mean, like no one actually knows where to start when they see a big project. So you start with Android, you start with React, start with any framework, and it gives just a huge files. So I mean, even before you know main activity and activity main, what is the first step you should do so that you can at least start to like change some things, and what should you do? So as you can see, we see hello world here. So obviously in the whole app there will be somewhere hello world written, right? So let's do Control Shift F. I mean, the shortcut will be different, but essentially I am searching in the whole project for hello world. Okay, so we found the hello world fortunately only in one file. So yeah, it's activity. Now to confirm that this is just that hello world only, what we will do is change this to, let's say, hello Sanchit. So Sanchit is my name. You can like put whatever you want. And now if you want, you can run the app again. I will not run it because obviously it's slow, but essentially you can see hello Sanchit instead of hello world. And on the top
Excuse me, like I cannot see the XML text itself. I can see some sort of generated thing in when I open the activity_main.xml.
Click the code tab on the top right. The code tab.
like
Okay, code split design, right? Okay.
yeah, I was just going to explain that.
Okay.
Yeah, also is there some kind of hot reload function here?
No, hot reload is not actually there. I mean, you have to press every time.
Okay.
So like The thing is, actually you don't always need to see on a physical device or emulator, and that's where these things come in. So instead of code, you can actually select like split so that you can see the code and the design. Or if you only want to play with design, I mean there will be times when we play with design only, so you can press this. So it's let me show. So maybe you are seeing two screens here, one white and one blue. So it's this setting here, so design, blueprint and design and blueprint. So I generally personally prefer to keep only one of them, since like in most of the cases both of them are similar, so it's just a waste of space for me. So you can change to design, and yep, I mean all these settings you can see. You can change the mobile. I mean it does not really matter much because like most of the screens are like similar. Okay, so you can see that Hello Sanchit is here, and initially it was Hello World. So as soon as you change anything here, it will get reflected there. You don't need to like check on a physical device or emulator every time you want to see a change. So that's the thing.
And for some reason, in my Android Studio, the background is white and text is black. But in my phone, it's opposite. It's in dark mode automatically.
Like it's just about theme. I mean, if you want, you can change the theme. It's fine.
I think तुमने
No, no.
settings में system dark on रखा है, so that's why the colors are inverted.
Okay.
Like theme is here somewhere. I don't remember. Like are you seeing something like this?
No, in my Android Studio, it's white and white. It's light mode, but in my mobile, it's dark mode.
Okay. So like I mean if it's, I think it's your mobile system settings. So just change that.
Maybe.
So are you guys able to do everything till now? I mean just change Hello World to something like Hello Sanchit, Hello Suyash, Hello Vivek, anything.
Yeah, we can.
Yep.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So what about you, Anjalish?
It's still loading for me, so I'm not doing. I'm listening to it.
We can wait a minute if you want, because it will.
No, you should continue. You should continue.
Okay, sure.
Is it like downloading in the bottom right? Like, is it showing ki that G thing downloading something.jar?
Like on my screen or it's on?
I'm asking Anjali.
Yeah, it's only showing loading. That's it.
Okay.
There might be a connection issue then, right?
Yeah, I'm using Campus the land.
Okay, so for those of you who have done it, I am giving a link of PagePin, and this is like one of the very few times you will have to copy paste some code without understanding, and I'm really sorry about that, but I will explain this later. So just copy the link, open the link, copy the text, and in activity_main.xml remove all this and paste that. The hello world should be shifted on the top left side. Okay, so basically what we have done, I will try to explain a little bit, and I will explain more of it as we go on. So layout is anything that contains your elements. So elements can be images, text, like text element, text input, and anything else literally. And layout actually stores all the element in a hierarchy in a tree structure. So basically here the case is that only one text view is there inside the layout. But if we duplicate this, so there are two text views and it's like a tree structure with linear layout as parent and the two text views as children. So it will not be directly useful now, but this is the only way to like explain it. And linear layout simply means that the elements will be put linearly, so either horizontally or all vertically. And by default, as you can see, it's horizontal, so we see both the text hello world horizontally, right? So let me just delete it for now so that we can continue. So you all have pasted the code, right? And now what we can do is let's first see how to change the orientation. So sorry, actually copy this again so I can explain you the orientation. So we want to like put the second hello world below the first hello world, because if you remember what app we are building, it's like dice image and below that the roll button. We will add these button images later, but essentially we want the structure to be vertically, not horizontal. Okay, so assuming we don't know anything, what is the first thing? Like we want to change orientation, right? So we'll start by writing orientation, and automatically it's suggesting Android orientation, so let's go with that. Fortunately, it also says the option, so horizontal, it's already horizontal, so let's put it vertical. Yippee. So finally both the hello worlds are stacked on top of each other, but it's very small to see, on the big Android. So let's increase the font size. So let's try writing font size first. Okay, so font size, obviously, so there is nothing font size, so text size. Now Android text size is, so if you are coming from a web development background, we use something like pixels or EM or REM. In Android we can also use hard-coded values, but we will use something like SP, which is like scalable pixels. So without going into much details, it means that it will not vary depending on your screen size. So some screen has more pixel density, some screen has less pixel density, so it will ignore that pixel density and will look same on across like maybe 90-95% devices.
How is this different from REM?
REM, like as far as I remember, it's just relative to root element, right? It does not consider the pixel density. You are talking about REM in CSS, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's relative to the root element, that is like body or HTML.
Okay, what if I just say 10%?
In CSS, if you set 10%, it's relative to the parent. So ultimately, if you have not set anything in the parent, it will again go back to the root.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Let's assume you have HTML, then maybe a div, and then paragraph. So you set the font size of paragraph to, let's say, 50%. It will take 50% of the font size of div. So it will have some default value, and that default value either will be like you will set it REM or it will be percentage. So it will again go to its parent, which is like HTML or body. Anyways, it does not consider pixel density. Okay.
Is there any way to align it in the middle?
Yeah, sure. So we will be just doing that. So let's copy this and paste it here. Okay. So we have our two hello world here, and we want to align it in middle, right? Let's add a button first, and then we'll align that only. Ultimately, we will need a button. So let's add a button. Okay, so it's asking for two properties, which is layout width and layout height. Now we have the first two option is match parent and wrap content. So match parent, as the name says, it will take the width of its parents. So if its parent is like 100 pixel, it will become 100 pixel. If its parent is 200 pixel, it will become 200 pixel. Okay, And wrap content is take the width only that much is required. So in the final app we will be using role, so it will take only that much width, that much is required for the role, and like some space on the left and the right side of that, and not the full width of parent. You might get confused what is parent here. So like in web development and all that stuff, the parent is essentially the root element, which is the whole screen here. So if we let me show you. So let's put match parent here, and here let's say wrap content only, and obviously we need to close the button also. So the button is here, and as you can see it's like matching the width of the parent, which is screen. So for now we don't need that. So wrap content. So the content is not there, but you see there is still some blue portion. So that's essentially the space. So it gives some default padding and margin. Okay, so for now we add some text. So we write text and it's an Android text. So role. Okay. Now someone asked how to center this, and obviously we will going to center this. So let's try. Now let's show you how to like Google search. Basically it's like a huge skill nowadays. So Android, Kotlin. So wait a minute. So as I said, everything is a view. So inside a layout we put views. The view can be image, the view can be button, the view can be text view. So everything essentially is a view. So what we want is to center a view. Okay, so center view. Stack Overflow, first option, go below, and yep, Android Gravity and Android Layout Gravity. Okay, so these two properties. So Gravity handles the alignment of children and Layout Gravity handles the alignment of itself. So since we are adding on the button, we will use Layout Gravity. Layout Gravity. Now we have some options: center, horizontal, center, center body, etc, etc, and we are going to use center horizontal. Okay, so the button is fortunately here in the center. Now as you can see, after hovering over the text, it says hardcode is string role should use string resource. So let me explain you this. So when you are developing big application, like it's just a few files but it gets thousands of lines and like hundreds of files, we generally prefer to keep the hardcode these things separate from the code. So that let's say one day I realize that I don't want this button to say role, I want it to say roller is maybe. So I don't have to look in the code and change everything. So what I will do is create a separate file for just storing all the static things, that is maybe images and text and all that stuff. So that will be resource obviously. So let's go here, click on the bulb, and it say extract string resource. So what it will do is put a variable here which will be named as ROLL. You can like call it anything like lol or anything. I'm just going to call it role for now, and its value will be role. Let me show you this. So this thing here is essentially only a variable. It does not store exact string, and inside the values here we can see strings.xml. Let's open this. So let's say you want to change this to roller dice, you will change it here and it will automatically change it here. Okay, cool. Right, so let's keep it role only. So any doubts till now? I hope it's fine.
Yeah, there are two options like create the resource in directories, values and values night. What is that?
Okay, let me. Okay. Yeah, what are you saying?
Yeah, there are two options. Create the resource in directories, values and values night.
Okay, so basically it's like just a theme there. So as we saw, where was it? I generally don't use a theme. Yeah, so not night and night.
Okay.
So I mean, extracting the resources helps basically a lot, because let's say you want to translate your app after some time. So I mean, you don't want to change all your code. So what we will do is change only here. You want to make your device like change it everything to like dark theme or night, what it calls. So instead of changing everything to code, you can change it to here. So that's basically the thing.
Can you explain again, how do I change the resources thing? I think I missed something and I can't get it now.
Okay, no issue.
How do I change the button's text with the resources?
Sure, let me show it again. So I mean, currently it says Android tag equal to role, right? Just move your mouse over here. There will be a bulb. Is it visible?
Yeah.
So press the bulb and extract string resource.
Okay.
The name
And
of
then
the
just change it.
what?
Just change it in the file. Then how do you change the button from the file,
Yeah, I
from
will
the
show.
resource part?
So this
Okay.
is essentially the variable name, and this is the variable value. So press OK. So now it says that the value of the text is a string, whose variable name is ROLL, role. Now all the values are stored in res values and strings. So basically string. I mean, later we will look into colors also, but let's focus on strings only. So there is a string with the name of role. So this is the same here. Its value is ROL. So we will change roll dice. We will go again and it will say roll dice. So
Yeah, okay.
you got it now?
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, cool. So the button is center horizontal. We don't need this text view, so let's delete it. And we have stored. Okay. Yeah. Now one thing we have to do is, when the user press on the button, it should do something, right? It should like roll a dice, change the image, so do something. So whenever we are playing with this stuff, which is UI stuff, we have to identify this button. So we have to identify this button, and in the code we will say that on press of this button we have to do something, right? So a classic way to identify these elements is by giving them ID. So it's same as you give in like HTML also, if you are coming from a web development background. So what we will do is give this button an ID to identify it later. So let's start by typing ID, and it shows Android ID. We will go ahead with that. It's showing add plus ID. We will go ahead with that. So now you will like actually write the name of the like what ID we want to give. So it's a good practice to give the ID something like role underscore button. So role is basically the function or function type, and button is the element. So if this was a text view, I will give it role underscore text or text view. I mean, you have flexibility in that, but it's just a good practice to follow some conventions throughout your project, so that if you put your project out somewhere and someone is want to like go through your code, understand what you have written, he or she can understand what is going on. Okay, so we have given an ID to the button, and now we will play with this ID in the code. So code is there in the Java and Comr main activity. Okay, so main activity is basically any like we will create more activities later, but this is like the first activity which will be starting. Okay, and set content view. Okay, so this line here, the set content view r.layout.activity main, I mean, we will see what this r.layout means, but essentially this means that use all the layout defined here in the activity underscore main and put it inside the app. Okay, so before this line, no button is defined, no text view is defined, there is no layout, nothing exists. But after this line, everything comes on your app. And since this is inside the onCreate, as the name says, it as soon as the app loads, it will get created and it will like add all the layouts, all the buttons, all the text view and all that stuff. Okay, so what we do is, let's say, let's add it here only. So we want to change, let's say, the text of the button. So we will change it from roll dice to rolled dice maybe. Just to explain, we will change this later obviously. So first we want to get the dice, get the button, so that we can do operations on that. So in Kotlin you have to declare variables with either val or var. So these are the two options to declare a variable. So val is something like a value. So if it's a constant, you declare it with val. So it's a fixed value. And as far as var is concerned, it's like variable. So if it's something that will be changed later, you should define it with var instead of val. So in our case, we will be changing the value, the text of the button, not the button itself. So we will go with val. Now you may ask that why we are using val and not var. I mean, you just don't change it later. How does it matter? So again, it's about the good coding practices. So if you know something is not going to change, you declare it like that, because it will prevent a lot of errors. It will explain the reader that this is not going to change, so that the code becomes more readable, more robust, more error free, so to say. Okay, so now the name of the variable, value. So let's say roll button and equal to. So as you remember, we gave the button an ID. Now we have a function here which is find view by ID. So as I said, everything is view, so it's view by ID. You can delete these triangular brackets for now, I will explain later. Now comes, what is this R? So R basically stands for resource. So everything, as I said, is your resource. So R dot. Now we gave the button an ID. So ID. Now the ID is basically roll underscore button. So what just happened here, let me explain. So when we gave this ID to the button, what Android did is create a corresponding object, a mapping for the ID to a number. Basically it's a number. So as you can see, public static find the int roll button equal to 100 something. So it mapped it with a number, and we can access that with r.id.roll button. Now R is a resource. So if you want to select layout, do r.layout. Later we will do r.color. So like that. Okay. Now as you can see, it's showing red. So let's see. Not enough information to infer type variable t. So in Kotlin, what is there is everything should have a fixed type, so as to avoid any errors later, and also give autocomplete suggestions. So let's say you create a variable xyz and you put a value of lol. Okay. Now if you don't tell Kotlin that roll button will be a button, how it will give you corresponding function suggestions to change its text, to add the on click. So we should tell the Kotlin that it will be a button. So we tell it by putting colon and button. So button android.widget. So press enter. What it will essentially do is import this. Okay. Now this button is just the type. You can add it like number, string, it can be anything, but in our case it's a button. Now we want to change the text of this button. So simply, without knowledge of Kotlin, we can do like role button, and we want to change some property which should be text. I mean, it's like trivial. So text and equal to, let's say, OMG. Cool. So initially roll dice is here, but if I will run this app on the mobile, it will be showing me OMG I change, because on the on create I change the value of the roll button to OMG I change. So at this time, let me actually start the app. It will take some time, obviously. Let me know if you have any doubts. And okay, yep, so it's OMG I change, right? So even though we didn't wrote this, hard coded it here, by hard coded I mean like not even the variable. So the variable was roll button, which stored roll dice, but what we saw is OMG I change, because as soon as it was created, it found the button by find view by ID. ID is something we gave to the button here, and the ID name was roll underscore button. We told him to find the ID which is there, which is a resource, and the resource is ID, and it is roll underscore button, and we change its text to OMG I change, and that's the reason we saw OMG I change here. So any doubts so far?
So basically in strings activity main.xml, we write our HTML and CSS code, and main.activity is like our JavaScript code.
Yeah, you can think it like that. So this is like HTML, CSS, and this is like JavaScript. Sure.
How did it change once more? Like I did write the thing, but after that, how did you change it?
Just run the app and it will automatically change, because it's in the on create. So as soon the app is created, it will change. I mean, the change will not be visible to your human eyes because it will be so fast. So you will only see OMG I change there. So have you tried like running on your app and it's still not changed, or like? So anyone can just confirm if this worked for like even one person or not?
Yeah, it worked for me.
Okay, sure. And anyone facing problem other than the loading speed? Okay, so I assume everything is good. Now obviously we don't want to change the text. And one thing, by the way, if you are lagging behind, just tell me if you want us to wait, and if not, anyways, I will push all this code with proper commits on GitHub and share the link with you so that you can see stepwise what we did. The code might be different because I'm not committing here, and like it will be slightly different, so you can still go ahead. And anyways, we will be posting YouTube video also, so you don't need to worry a lot. Okay, so what was our purpose? Let's see. So we will have a button here. We have a roll button. I mean, it's on the top. We will shift it to in the center later. But the thing is, after we press the roll, something should happen, right? It should not be like it happened as soon as it was created. So we want to do something when this button is clicked. So how we do it? I think some of you are familiar with JavaScript. So we do something like on click listener. We add things like this. So we will do similar in here also. So roll button dot. So let's start by typing on click listener only. So on click listener. Okay, so I mean it suggests that there is nothing like on click listener, but I assume set on click listener will also work. Now here comes some power of Kotlin actually. So it's obviously a function, and it will take a function of what to do. So if let me actually show it here. Okay, so it's a function and we pass some parameter like a or b, and it will do something here. So this is one way of writing the function, right? Another way of writing the function, if it's small, is you just write this a, and this should return like, let's say, a into 2. Okay, and like maybe we can assign it to another variable, double equal to double. Let me write it here. Okay, so like this is the long form, this is the short form, and it's like kind of similar to arrow functions in JavaScript if you have used them. And one more thing, if you don't want this a variable, what you can do is, I mean the name will always, so temp equal to like maybe print something. Print is not a function in Kotlin. I am just using it for explaining. So what it will do is just print something. Later we will see that we can also use arguments without using this, but anyways, let's go. So we want,
So it's similar to a function pointer kind of a thing.
what? Sorry.
So basically, this is similar to a function pointer.
Yeah.
A function is a variable. That's it.
Yeah.
And also, it is not static type because we are not entering the type of A.
Like I was just explaining this, but when we will write, we will like assign types to all the variables.
Okay, okay.
I mean, I was just explaining this braces thing and how we can like write the function in short. Okay. So set on click listener actually takes a function, whatever we want to do when the button is clicked or touched or pressed basically. So as I said, we define functions like inside the braces, and we don't need any parameter, right? So we don't need this a thing here, so we can directly do whatever we want to do. So one thing is I'm just doing it temporary. So in many apps, when you press something or something happen, it show a little like status message type. It is known as toast. So I mean, it's difficult to explain. I will show you. So we import toast dot make text. So this is just temporary, therefore I'm not explaining a lot. This takes in context. So what is the context? It's just this activity only. So this variable is actually a very famous variable in Kotlin as well as in JavaScript. And when you are using classes, this refers to the object of this class, which is main activity. You can ignore this stuff for now if you want. So the text should be clicked button, and the third argument is actually how much duration. So duration length, let's go with short. Okay, so we created the toast and then we will show it. Yep, I think this should work, and I will have to show this on device only. So let's see.
What exactly is toast?
Like I will actually show. It's easier to show you what exactly is toast. I don't know.
Is that the thing कि bottom left में वो हल्का सा लिख के आता है 3-4 सेकंड के लिए, like opening scala dot something dot lib something.
Yeah, it comes for 3-4 seconds, but it's like in bottom center for me. I will show you.
Okay, that thing. Okay.
Yep, so we press on the roll dice and click button. So I don't know what to call this. In programming terms, it is called toast.
Okay, so it's like a mini notification kind of.
Yeah, I mean everyone can see this, right? The clicked button.
Okay.
Yep, visible to everyone.
Yes.
Yep. But
Cool.
I'm getting an error.
What error are you getting?
Like, can you show me the toast function again? Okay, fine. It was typo from my side.
No issue. Is it working now? Can you just confirm? One more thing, if you want to read about like these type of function, it's known as lambda functions. So just Google search Kotlin lambda functions if you want. Oh, it's showing lambda. Okay. Yeah. And one more thing. So we are passing this lambda function as a parameter to another function which is set on click listener. So set on click listener is actually receiving another function as parameter. If you want, I mean, this is called high order function. And if the parameter which is a function is the last parameter, which is in this case, I mean, this only takes one parameter and that parameter is another function. We don't need this parenthesis also. Okay, so we remove these. Yeah. Now if you see something like this, it means that this is a function we are calling with this parameter. Now let me actually like explain a little bit more. So let's say this was some function fun and it's going to just print something, right? So if the function receive, okay, so these two statements are same essentially, but if you want, like if the function is something like this, so print a and another argument is 2. So this is a new function which takes 2 arguments. The first is a function which is just printing a and the second is 2. Now you can't do anything like this. So you need to put this thing inside the braces. Okay. Now we have another function, let's say fun3, and it also takes 2 arguments, but the first is 2 and the second is the function. So now you can write the same call like this. So fun3 2 and now print. So if the function is last argument, you can like move it outside of the parenthesis. It's kind of confusing, that's why I'm explaining it in detail. So if you have any doubts, please ask me.
What does this simplify?
What does this simplify? I mean,
why would you want to do this?
okay, like it's just like after you have some practice, it will make your code more readable, I guess. I mean, it's up to you if you want to use this or not. So the print function is actually like very small in code, but it's not always this small. So it kind of get really ugly if you have everything inside the parentheses. So we will see this in later sessions. But if you want, you can like, I mean, no one is stopping you, it's just braces. So it does not matter. The code will work either way. And this Ryan is just suggesting you to remove the parentheses. Okay.
Got it.
So
I'm having a bunch of errors for that on-click listener. I can't get it to run. I think I'm doing something wrong with the syntax. Can you like post that text so I can just see what I'm doing wrong?
you want me to like give this string,
Yeah.
this text to you? Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Yeah.
I've sent it in the Google Meet.
Thanks.
Let me know if it's working for you.
Okay.
So we are doing something on the press of button now, and there's some progress. Now actually let's move it in center. So what we will do is, let's first remove this, we don't need it anymore. Okay, and inside this, so remember we used gravity thing, so gravity and center vertical. Okay, so we have the button centered vertically and centered horizontally. That's great. And we have something which is working on clicking the button. So if you have any doubts, please tell me. I mean, we are kinda like halfway through, I guess. So the next thing is we want to show the dice image. So first, instead of like putting the images, let's put a text view only, which will show the number which is rolled. So text view with wrap content, close this, and text save and text size 30 sp, layout gravity, and center horizontal. So one is basically the number which we will show in form of dice images later on. And as you have noticed, when I am here on the text view, it highlights the one to tell us that we are changing the properties of this element here, right? And in button, you're changing the button layout, the whole layout is selected. Good. So you can see that the layout actually is only this much, like only covering these two. And this is because we have layout height as wrap content, and we actually put center vertical, so it is centered. Let's remove it. So the whole layout is shifted on the top. Okay, so when we centered the button, it was not exactly the button which was centered. So as you can see here, we use layout gravity center horizontal, but for vertical we use here. Okay, so because we didn't center the button vertically, we centered whole layout vertically. Okay, I hope that's clear, because this is something you might get confused. So let's go to the main activity. Now obviously we don't want just to print clicked button, we want to do something. So what we will do is remove this. Oh. Yeah. Now we have two options, either to write whole logic here, but as a good coding practice, you should declare new function and keep the code as modular as possible. So what we will do is we will create a function, let's say roll dice, and we will call that. Okay, so roll dice. Now you can hover it over here, it says create function roll dice. I mean, I was just being lazy, but you can essentially type this to create the function. So let me first, so private fun roll dice. So private is just the scope, the access specifier of classes, if you know about this. So private essentially means that this function will only accessible to this activity. Okay, and fun is a keyword in Kotlin used to declare a new function, and roll dice is just a function name, and other syntax is like, if you have any experience with any other language, it's same. So let's remove the to do. Okay, so now we want to do something, and that something is just changing the text here. Okay, now let's see. First of all, we want to like get this text view also, because we want to do some operation with it. Okay, now how we get this? We assign some ID. So ID, so it's okay, sorry. Yep. So this is result and this is essentially text. So result underscore text. Okay, and the roll dice function, what I will do is create a value val, and which is like result text. Its type is text view. Cool. So type here, the type was button, here the type is text view, and then again find view. Essentially everything is just view, so we will use this only. So it's a resource which is ID, and the ID is essentially result underscore text. So we got the text view element here, and now we want a, so let's actually just change it. So result text dot text equal to change. Oh, it's showing error. Oh, sorry. Cool. I mean, the strings are declared inside double quotes, like in C++ or Java. In JavaScript, you can create with single quotes also, but it's different. Okay, so let me again run it and show you, and we will then create the like logic to use random number. It's running. Just a second. Cool. So here we are, 1 and roll dice. After I place roll dice, it's saying change. Cool. Now we want, instead of this change, we want a random number between 1 to 6. Okay. So random between 1 and 6. Now getting random number is nothing specific to Android, so it's just plain Java. So what we will do is create another variable, random int equal to, so import this. So you can either import it with Kotlin random, Java random, anything. So it's all same. Okay. So random is a function. So next int basically is the maximum value. So I mean, if I give 6 here, it will give me 0 to 5, but we want 1 to 6. So what we will do is just do +1 here. Okay. What it's saying. Let's change it. Remove it. We don't need toast. Random. Import it from Java util. Yeah. Sorry about that, but I think you should import it from Java util. The previous random function was, I guess, takes seed also if you want different random. Okay, so the text is basically random. Now you can see the error because random int, if you hover away, is of type int. Now we didn't specify the type explicitly like we did here, but it automatically got the type from this thing, right? Because this function returns an integer, we are adding another integer to it. So integer plus integer will be integer. So Kotlin told us that this is an integer and we cannot put an integer to a string or character sequence, both are same.
So typecast.
Yeah, typecast. So what I mean, in C++ type you do something like long and one, but in JavaScript and all that, what you can do is call something. I mean, the first session is toString only, and that's what we want to do. Okay, so we just change it to toString, and now it should, I guess, work. So let's see. Okay, let me show you my phone screen. So 1, we press roll dice, 4, 5, 3, 1 again, 6. So as you can see, like it's the random number between 1 and 6. Essentially that's what I want you to see. Okay, cool. That was a lot of work to do. So do you have any like questions till now?
I got the error. What is error? Hold on. It says cannot create an instance of an abstract class when I try to like store the random value in random int.
Like, can you just expand your import and see from where you are importing the random?
Oh wait, did I not import? I thought I wait. Hold on. Yeah, let me just see. Random not random. I think.
I mean the easiest random function to use is inside the java.util. If you are importing
Okay.
from somewhere else, just delete that line.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can you please show your activity main XML file?
yeah, sure. Any doubt here?
No, actually, I didn't use the layout gravity, so that's why it was not centered.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, so the only main task left. Yeah, Ayush, anything?
Yeah, I'm trying to import Java.util star and it's coming grayed out. Is that normal?
It just mean that you are not using anything. So just use the random function. I mean, if I comment this line here, it should be grayed out. Okay, right. Yeah. So grayed out just means that you are importing it and it's of no use. So instead just don't import it, because importing
Okay, let me.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Actually, it is still not centered.
like, are you talking about the text one here or the button? Hello.
Yeah, text.
And you have added this thing inside the text view.
Okay. I did center vertical.
Center, I mean center vertical, as the name says, but centers the vertically.
Yeah, got it.
So the only main task left for us is to add these images. Now let me share you a link so that you can download these images.
Could you like share it on the Discord page as well?
Okay, sure. After this session, I will add all these things like the paste bin thing and these images on the website only, where there were setup instructions. So it's like little more organized there. let me know when you have downloaded that. And also tell me if I'm going too fast or too slow. I mean, I don't know with what speed I should teach.
It's the perfect speed. Like,
Okay.
it both
I think it's pretty good for this class right now.
Cool, thanks.
I personally learned a lot of stuff that I glazed over in the tutorials.
Yeah,
So, like I skimmed it like from a very high, very bird's eye view, I guess. So
that's
yeah,
good. It's good.
I glazed over a lot. So yeah, I learned a lot right now. So
this is the first time for me, at least, in Android. But like, yeah, it seems really simple now, right now.
Yeah. I mean, most of the tutorials I see, they just don't explain things why we are doing this. So that's something I missed when I was learning all this. I mean, you might see that this is kind of useless to put Android everywhere. So, I mean, after a few minutes, I will actually explain why we are using Android here. And as you can see,
use this to make iOS.
what? iOS?
No, does that mean we can use this to make iOS apps?
No. Unfortunately, like Android Studio is only for Android. I mean, another thing is like tools, which I will explain after we add the dice image. It's like the last thing we have for today.
I mean, Flutter is there, but it's slightly different. I mean, in the way we do it. I mean, it's mostly the same, but yeah, थोड़ा सा अलग है.
I mean, most of the languages are, I mean, you learn one, everything else is like pretty similar. Like React Native is also kind of similar. It's more of JavaScript. Flutter is similar. Just a few changes.
Okay, so I've got the images. How do I import, do stuff? Where should I keep the images, the XML files?
Like for now, just extract it. I will show you. So extract here. Everyone able to see these images?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So now is the first time when we will be changing our view. So instead of Android, we will go to project. So project is basically how the files are stored on your like device on your laptop. So if you go inside your project folder from the file explorer, you will see in this form like app build grader in this, and the Android is just for like ease of use. Okay, so when we want to import files, we go to project, everyone here, so everyone able to do this till now?
Okay. So the Android part is basically a subset of the project part.
Not exactly subset. I mean, it shows everything you will ever need. It's just a different view.
Right.
But it still shows everything in a different view. That's what I want to say. So now go inside app, src, then main, and then res. So res is essentially the resources folder. Cool. Now drawable. So we will add all our images in this drawables folder. So simply select all the images and drag it here to directory res drawable. Okay, cool. So you should see all these files, and when you go back to your Android view, inside the res drawable, you should see dice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you can see all this, then you have done everything correctly. So let me know if you can see all this.
Was there any restriction from doing it in Android itself? Android
What?
view.
Sorry.
Couldn't we have done this in the Android view itself?
Yeah, sure. I mean, you can do it in Android view as well. I tried to explain the project view also.
Got it.
I mean, just that how complex this thing is actually stored, but how simple it's here to see. So everyone able to see the dice images here?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So finally, we don't need this text view, and we won't need it ever in this session. Now we want image. So let's start by typing image and see what comes up. So image view, image button and switcher are also there, but image view. Okay, so we don't want the image to be as large as parent. So wrap content, again wrap content, and then image. Yep. So for image, we don't supply a text. Instead, we supply a source for image. So if you are coming from HTML background, you should know that image is src source. So Android src. Now you don't hard code anything here. Again, you do add the drawable. You don't give the absolute path to the image. Okay, so dice 1. Cool. So the dice is visible. Now obviously we want to center it. So layout, gravity, center horizontal. Perfect. And I guess that's all. One more thing. We also need an ID because we want to play with this image view. We want to do some operations with it. Essentially, we want to change this source attribute. Okay. So we will give ID, and let's say so dice and image. Cool. So for our, the app looks what we aimed. Let's just add the functionality also. Everyone with me here so far?
Yes.
Cool. So for functionality, we will obviously go to our main activity, which is like the JavaScript thing. Okay. Now we have the random int. We don't have this result text here. We don't have this. We still need this here. Okay. So what we will do is initialize dice image, and it will be image view, and like find view ID. So ID is the resource. It's obviously ID, and the name was, sorry, I forgot the name. Dice image. Yeah. Okay, cool. So we got the button. Sorry, not button, the image, and then we already have the random integer. So now another thing of Kotlin comes. So when the integer is 1, we have a different image. When it's 2, we have a different image. When it's 3, we have another different image. Okay. So in other languages like C++ and JavaScript, we have something like switch statement. We supply a variable here, and then we have different like case A, something, then break, and then case B. Okay. So in Kotlin, it's slightly different. Instead of switch, we have when. So it's more readable, like, so when random int, and then again braces. So instead of case we have like 1. So when it's 1 we do something. Okay? So do something, and for 2 we will again do something, blah blah blah, and then at the end we will have an else. So in other languages we have first the cases and then default. In Kotlin we don't write the case, we directly write the value, and at the end we write else. And one more thing, the when actually returns something. So as you can see, this here looks like a function call. Let me see if it's still there. I removed, but essentially the function call looked like a and a into 2. So this was the thing the function was returning. So if this is 1, then we are returning. So let me return something, 1 image, 2 image, and empty image. Okay, so essentially when the random int is 1, this whole thing here will evaluate to 1 image. So we can store it inside another variable. We will call it as img, let's say. And obviously we don't need strings. What we need is the actual image. So image is a resource of type drawable, and the image name is dice1. Cool. And for else, so actually else will not come anytime, because obviously we are using 1 to 6. So you can remove that, but it's a good practice to keep it. I mean, it will give a warning if you don't. You can ignore it if you want, but it's a good practice. So you can see we have empty dice image also. So actually empty dice image is here for more than this. What we will do is, when the app is just opened, we will not show any number on the dice. I mean, it will be just blank with a roll button. And as soon as we press on roll, it will start showing the dice. Okay. You can see on the left we have a little white something. It's actually the dice image, and if you have some other image of red color, it will, I mean, it's a dice image scaled down very small. Okay, so 1, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Actually, can we do some kind of string concatenation? So dice underscore some variable name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 simply.
Unfortunately, you can't do. I mean, there might be some hacky way to do that, but there is no good way to do that, unfortunately. Because
why is SRC available?
What?
In the XML file, we have Android SRC, and we can assign it over there. But I've tried it, but I can't access the SRC in the function.
Yeah. So,
why?
Can you repeat what exactly is okay? I kinda forgot what in a lot of things.
We set the initial image of the image using SRC, right, in the XML file.
Here, right?
Yes. So we have an attribute SRC for the image view, but we're not able to access that via the ID.
Why are you not able to access that? We can access that.
I'm not getting a prompt on mine.
I have not done it yet, accessing the SRC. I mean, it's not directly, you don't directly do dice image.src. I mean, it does not work like this, if that's you are trying to do.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what we can do
that
is...
was what I was trying to do, and that was what I was wondering why it didn't work.
Actually, it's slightly different here. So, we do set image resource. Yep. So it takes resource ID, which is integer, and as you remember, these are mapped to integers. Yeah.
Understood. Thanks.
And I mean, a quick Google search, like just write Android Kotlin set source of image, and it will give you this, like on the first 1 or 2 Stack Overflow links. Okay.
Thanks.
What type is IMG?
What type is IMG? Okay, so
Type of
IMG,
variable, yeah.
I mean, it's an image. Oh, sorry, it's an integer. So every resource is essentially mapped to an integer. So as you can
Okay.
see, this also takes integer argument. Yeah, IMG int. So all the resources are mapped to integer. You can find it here also. So this resource is also mapped to another integer. So everything is mapped to integer. Okay, cool. Let me see. So now, like, we are literally near the end of the session, and it's high time to run the app again. Oh, wait. What is the error? Let me see. You can see a little warning here. It's just saying that this should be inline. That you can write directly this thing here instead of declaring it a variable. But I mean, warnings are there for you to warn. You don't necessarily have to follow all of them. And I think it's worth it to like do it like this so that you know that we are creating a random number here. Okay. So this is our app here, and the dice mean looks good. Let's see if it changes or not. We press roll dice. Yep, 4, 3, 4, 5, 4. Okay, 4 is coming a lot of times. 1. But essentially it's giving random. If you believe me or not, it's random. Okay. Now, as I said, we don't want the user to see 1 if he or she hasn't pressed roll even one time. Okay, so what we will do is, instead of dice 1, we will initialize with empty dice, as simple as that. But now you see that this thing here does not have anything. I mean, the preview, the design preview shows us nothing because we have set it to empty dice. And it's very common to have something initialized later on. Like, imagine you are fetching data from the internet, then you don't have it right now, but for the user it will come. And obviously while designing, you need the data to be shown here. I mean, right now, even though I want the app to get started with empty dice, I want to see a dice so that I can design my stuff according to that. Because let's say I remove this here. Now I don't know if the dice is centered or not. I mean, it's very difficult to see. So it does not make sense to like keep changing on IMT dice, dice 1 and switching in between. So now actually what happens is, this Android thing is everything that will be compiled and will be given to your app, right? So this is like namespace, if you have heard about it. So namespace is essentially a way to separate variables with same name. So we have a src inside Android. We have another src inside another namespace which is known as tools. So tools also has another which is src. So what is this is, whatever is there inside the tools, it's there only for us to see. I mean, it will be here in the design thing, and as soon as we compile the app, it will be gone. So it does not affect the app performance or anything in any way. Okay. So for tools, we will write drawable dice1. So just to show us here that the dice image will be here, we have tools and tools src and Android src for the actual thing the user will see when the app starts. Okay, so that's one thing. Now as you can see, the code is like complete, the app is working, but it's not always about the, I mean, things are working. I mean, you can, there are many memes that if things are working, don't touch that and things like that. But it's always essential to see if you can improve the performance, how we can improve the code. It doesn't maybe matter in this small project, but it will matter a lot when you work in a company, when you work on a big project, maybe open source contribution or something like that. So let's see what we can like improve here. So first thing, let's don't import the text view because we don't need it anymore. So delete this line. Okay. Now we see image view, find view by ID. So as I told you that I mean, views are structured in a tree. So let me try to find the image online. So you have your layout here, then button, text view. So in this application, we only have a layout and then an image and a button. But it can really go complex. I mean, even this is simple. Like maybe this is complex, and in big application, it will like it can go really complex. So how it will do find view by ID? It has a ID. Let's say we want to find this checkbox here. Okay, and its ID is 1. We will start from relative layout. We will check if its ID is 1, no, then we go to its children. Like if you know like BFS, DFS, so like it will traverse the tree and then find that yes, this is the checkbox. So essentially the thing is, this thing here, this line might look a single line to us, but it's actually affecting performance. Maybe not in a small app, but it will definitely affect performance if this image view is very nested. So if it's like maybe at level 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like anything. So we want to eliminate this thing. Okay, and we are using find view by ID here also, but it's on create. So on create is called only one time, so it doesn't matter. Roll dice is create called a lot of times, so it will matter. Okay, so is that clear, like why we want to remove this thing and why this thing here is fine?
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, cool. So what we can do is the view is there and we can like put a variable and assign the view. So let's try to do it like this. Just delete it here, paste it here. Right, now you can see what is the, okay, like ignore that. So now if you remember, what I said is this line here, set content view, initializes the whole layout, which means it initializes all your images, all your text, all your buttons, and before calling this line nothing exists. So if you do this thing here, it will try to find view by ID, but it won't be able to find anything because nothing is there before this is called. Okay, so the next thing we can think of is like keep the variable here, keep it this, but define it maybe after this, like as simple as that maybe. Cool. And initially it will be set to null. Now it should give it, yeah, it's giving an error. So we told it that the dice image is image view, but we are setting its value to null. So if we want to tell Kotlin that it will either be image view or it will be null, so we can put question mark. So it says, any question?
Yeah, is this main activity looping all the time? Like as long as the app's running?
No, main activity is not looping. So it's just initialize one. So all the variables we declare here will be like initialized only once.
Then how did the variable work before? Because you just said that before on create, like nothing actually exists, right?
Yeah.
So how did dice image find anything at all? What was it doing then?
Actually, initially this finding of dice image was put here, if you remember, like here. So
Oh, right. Okay, you know what? I think I confused myself. Cool.
yeah. So we were finding the dice image here, and it's inside the roll dice. Now if we call roll dice function, let's say maybe here, then it will obviously give an error because nothing is there before this line. And since this line is on create, as soon as the app is created, when the user sees the button, then only like he or she can touch the button. So by that time everything will be initialized. So that's why things were working. Okay, so val cannot be assigned. Okay, so as I said, val is constant, so we will change it to var. Okay, cool. Now everything looks good, but there is one more thing. It's giving an error on line 21 now. Okay, so only say for non. So essentially what it's saying is it's giving, so everything related to type Kotlin actually treats as an error, so as to like warn you that this will give an error later on while running the app. So it's saying that dice image can be null, and if it's null, then there will be nothing like this. There will be no function on it. So either we have to put a if condition on that, or we can do question mark dot. So question mark dot essentially means that if dice image exists, then call this thing. If it does not exist, then do nothing. Or we can like obviously use if condition. Now let's say we were using this again and again, like let's say 10 or 20 or like 100 times. It does not make sense to put question mark, because essentially we as a programmer know that as soon as the app is initialized, it will be there. I mean, this thing cannot be null because it's defined here. But how do we tell Kotlin that it will never be null, but it will also be null? So essentially inside the code it can be null, but we know when the app is initialized it will never be null. So for this thing, I mean, you get the problem here, right? At least.
Is that a warning or is that an error? If it's a warning, we can just ignore it.
Okay, so most surely it's an error. Yeah, so red means actually error. So Kotlin is actually type safe, so everything related to type is actually an error. So you can't ignore that. You either have to put question mark or you have to put if condition to make sure that it's not null here.
But both of them take up CPU if due to the repeated calls.
Yeah, like maybe CPU, and even if you ignore the CPU call, I mean, the code is not readable if you have it a lot of times. So you have this thing in a lot of functions. You are again writing if. I mean, even if you know that it will be there. So that's kind of problem. So for this thing, we have a special thing which is late init. Okay, so what it says is that I am declaring a variable here. It is null for now, but as soon as the app is initialized, I guarantee you that this variable will be initialized. It will not be null. So late init is literally like late initialization. And now we can delete this question mark. We can remove this. Yep. So it's just saying that I mean the programmer guarantees that as soon as the app start, this thing will be there. So the error goes from here, and we are obviously like initializing it here. Yeah.
But, is there any fail-safe, as in if the programmer was wrong in this, would we just get a runtime error or something like that?
Okay, so honestly speaking, I have not tried it yet. Let's try to do it. Let's comment this thing. Nice image, yeah, nice image. And let's try. Okay, so let me show you the screen of my mobile. So we don't have any image. Let's see, app crashes or not, or what happens. Okay, the app crashed actually.
Okay, so it's runtime error.
Yeah. I mean, I have not tried this thing. It's strange. Anyways, let's do it again.
So it basically overcomes the type safe check, but
Yeah.
doesn't do anything else other than that.
Yeah, true. So instead of like again and again using question mark dot if condition and all that, we can directly use this. Yep. So no dice initially. We press roll dice appears, and yep, well, everything is done. And that was all the purpose of this session. So if you have any doubts, please ask them. And for people who are watching this on YouTube, if you have any doubts, please comment. And if you are here till now with me, I hope you like the video, so press the like button.